watching them go from starting their business to really flourishing. I just feel like a proud mother sometimes when I see the results go from 0 to 100. I look after 17 franchise partners and only one of those is a teacher.
Michael always says that some of the best ideas come from franchise partners, and it's so true. 100 minds is better than the few that we have.
The franchise partners are in the trenches doing this every day.
Yeah.
They come up with the best ideas, and a lot of them I find are very creative. Some of them are just total geniuses.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate and I'm the Head of Growth and Performance at Success Tutoring. Today I'm joined with one of my team members, Growth and Performance Manager Selina, and we're really looking forward to sharing with you a day in the life of a Growth and Performance Manager. Selina, how are you today?
I'm great, Kate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
That's good.
So I guess just to get started, if we can maybe just give a bit of a background about ourselves.
Sure. Okay. Well, I have a varied background. I built my career as a CPA, working in a manufacturing company and spending a lot of time with business unit managers, helping them to increase or grow the performance of their individual areas. I've also worked as a project manager across many different types of projects. And I've utilised all of that experience to springboard into business coaching, which is what I do now at Success Tutoring as a growth and performance manager. Essentially, I am business coaching. So yeah, that's me. How about you?
Yes, so I mean, as you and I started off as a tutor. So I started about 8 years ago now, tutoring primary school students at Success Tutoring. That was actually at the first ever Success Tutoring Centre.
Oh, wow.
And then from there, I actually started doing some admin. I also managed that centre for a while. Went straight to uni after school, and then I moved into this role after a bit of admin roles and things like that, and a bit of customer service roles within Success Tutoring.
Okay, fantastic.
All right, and what would you say makes Success Tutoring unique?
Success Tutoring, obviously operates in an industry which is quite crowded. There's a lot of other tutoring centres out there. But Success Tutoring is very unique in terms of the fact that we offer a great level of service with small classroom sizes. So our classroom sizes are typically 4 to 6 students, whereas other tutoring centres do something a little bit different to that. We're also membership-based, which is fantastic for parents' cash flow because they pay as they go rather than paying for a whole term. And I think also our values of motivating, uplift and inspiring students is amazing because we are encouraging children to have a love of learning rather than just rote learning, their schoolwork. They're actually developing that love of learning so that it's setting them up for a lifetime of being passionate about education and learning. And I think that goes a long way in any child's life.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's very important to be able to love for learning, especially from a young age. And I think that's something that they can take with them throughout their life.
Absolutely.
And I guess, why did you choose to join Success Tutoring?
Education, I think, is everything. And, for a young child or even an older child to be, to have a focus on education is a great way to help set them up for life.
Yeah.
And I love being part of the movement that encourages children to love their learning and, improve on their educational aspects of their life. So, yeah.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about what your role entails?
Okay, so as a growth and performance manager, I act as the conduit between headquarters and the franchise partners. So there's a lot of information transfer and there's a lot of, maintaining the relationship, making sure that the relationship's strong and the brand is consistent and all the values are upheld. And the other part of what I do is I coach. So basically what that means is looking at all different aspects of the business. So everything from the marketing to the finances to the team and the operations, and ensuring that the franchise partners get a high level of support to help to grow their business. And I also see myself as the chief cheerleader. So when the franchise partners do a good job, and a lot of them are doing, some fabulous things out there, I'm always the first one to give them a pat on the back and tell them how great they're doing. Yeah.
Amazing. And it's so great to see, isn't it, when you're coaching and supporting franchise partners and you see them achieve something that they've been working so hard for.
Oh, yeah. It's probably
really
the favorite part of my role.
Yeah.
Is just watching them go from, starting their business to really flourishing. I just feel like a proud mother sometimes when I see the results go from, 0 to 100. And yeah, that's really satisfying for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you a question, Kate. What makes Success Tutoring's support model different from other educational franchises?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess what makes our support different, I think honestly we've got such a strong dedication to helping franchise partners and the approach that we take. I know that this is something I would have spoken to you very early days, which is the helpful approach. And I think it's so important when we're supporting franchise partners to take on a very helpful approach. We're not in a position, to be telling franchise partners what to do. We're here to advise and just help them throughout their business. And that's something that we really take on board. We also really believe in collaborative growth. So really working together to come up with ideas together and grow together as well.
Yeah, fabulous. That's great.
And can you tell me, if we look at a typical week, I guess, for a franchise partner, what would you say that typical week looks like?
Okay, so a typical week for a franchise partner would involve a wide variety of different things. Obviously, there's a focus on customer service, so making sure that they're preparing for the lessons well, making sure that they're having contact with the parents so that the parents get feedback as to how their children are doing. Then there's the, obviously, working on the business as well. So there will be some marketing effort. Perhaps they might go out and be talking to other businesses in the local community and developing alliances. They might have an appointment with someone like myself, a growth and performance manager. So there's quite a lot of different aspects to running the business, which keeps it interesting for a franchise partner.
Yeah, and I guess the day-to-day can be different depending on whether they're running it as an investor or as an owner-operator.
Yeah.
So I guess as an owner-operator, it's more of those day-to-day operational activities. So meeting with parents, preparing for the lessons, taking student assessments. If they do choose to take the investor pathway, I guess it's more, like you said, working on the business. So there might be marketing initiatives possibly.
You raise a really good point, Kate, because we have, a mixture of different types of business owners. And so not all of our franchise partners work, in the business every single day. There are some that actually have full-time jobs and then they run this business on the side, so to speak, in which case they're probably spending a little bit more time with their manager and ensuring that the manager is supported in everything that they need to run a successful business. So, we have that mix of those. And obviously if you don't have the full-time job and this is your full-time job, then you're a lot more hands-on in terms of, mentoring the tutors and speaking with parents, etc.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess it offers a bit more flexibility because they can decide how much involvement they'd like to have in the business.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. And so we have some franchise partners that have a lot of involvement.
Yep.
And then we have some that don't have as much involvement and they more, work with their manager and the manager runs a business.
Yeah, yes. Definitely. And, within your time working with franchise partners, what would you say, especially in the early days, is a key challenge that they might face and how you support them within that challenge?
Okay, so as a former business owner myself, I guess I've seen all of this firsthand. I've been in their shoes, and I think we have a lot of franchise partners who've never had a business before.
Yeah.
So there is a steep learning curve if you've never had a business before. Some of the challenges they may have include getting a start with their marketing, so getting a start with the volume of customers walking through the door, which is no different to any other small business out there. So then I would offer support in terms of marketing strategy and tactics.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows marketing strategy. Everyone, can pluck 5 or 10 different ways in which they could get members to sign up. But the tactics, I think, are just as important. So it's not just what you do, but it's how you do it and it's how you execute it. So I provide a level of support with that. There's also support with setting goals, accountability, which I think is really important because we're all very busy. Everyone's busy, and obviously the business is just one aspect of their life. So it's, being able to have an accountability partner so that you can stay on track. I think that's really important. Another area that I offer support on is how to have a high-performance team. So we understand that the tutors are critical to the business, but how do we support those tutors to do the best job that they possibly can? And probably another aspect that I'm thinking of is how to manage the cash within a business. A lot of people come to small business and they perhaps need a little bit of education around financial literacy, the difference between cash and profitability. So I can provide them some support in that area and just give them some guidance as to how to optimize their cash flow and optimize their profitability, which is obviously critical to any small business. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you make a really good point about picking the right team members. I think that's so important. It's so crucial, especially because our main goal is to motivate, inspire, and uplift every student that walks into the centre. And of course, that's the franchise partner and manager's role, but it's also within the tutor's role as well.
Yeah.
To really express those values and motivate the students.
Absolutely. And, I'm a big believer that, you can recruit the right team members, but you need to keep the tutors. They need to feel supported and they need to feel part of the culture and the movement of what it is that we're trying to achieve. And the captain of the ship or the owner of the business, it's their responsibility to, uplift and motivate and inspire their team as well to do the best that they can. So, that's another aspect of the business that I think needs a lot of focus. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. The growth and performance team, how do they uphold high standards, particularly as we're continuing to grow at such a rapid pace?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think with upholding standards, I think one thing that's extremely important is consistency.
Yeah.
And especially being a franchise, ensuring that the centres are quite consistent across the board. And that's everything from, being operationally consistent to consistent in the environment that we provide to students and anyone really that walks through the doors as well. So in terms of, operational consistency, you would know we have specific checklists that we follow. So when we visit centres to see the franchise partner and see the operations of the centre, we have a specific list that we go through just to make sure that everything is consistent, with all the other centres and what our standards are. But I think another really important thing is having consistency with the experience that we provide to anyone that walks in. So I think it's so important to bring franchise partners on board who hold our same values of motivating, inspiring, and uplifting students, so that if a parent walks into one centre and they really feel, that genuine care from the tutors and franchise partners, it should be the same whichever centre that they walk into. So I think that's definitely
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
Yeah. And what would you say makes the best franchise partner?
Okay. A number of different things. I think a really good franchise partner is someone who's open-minded. So somebody who is willing to listen to others around them. So not just me as their business advisor, but, taking notice of what other franchise partners are doing really well. So we have best practice in Success Tutoring, as you know. And I think I have an advantage because I've got a bird's eye view of 17 individual businesses, so I can see who is doing what the best.
Yeah.
So I can see where the lessons can be learned.
Yeah.
And, take those lessons and try to sprinkle the fairy dust across all the other franchises. And I think it's really important to keep an open mind and sort of listen to what others are doing and learn from that. So it's a little bit of open-mindedness, dropping the ego. And I have to say, one of the keys to success in business is also getting really comfortable with being uncomfortable, because you are very much pushing the boundaries in terms of what it is that you can achieve and what it is that you can do. And it's not always comfortable.
Yeah.
But that's how we grow, and we know that. So, being able to step outside your comfort zone and do something that might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but obviously the more you do it, the more comfortable it feels, and recognize that you're doing it for a reason, and that's to help yourself. So I think there's some of the really good traits of a great franchise partner.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been asked this question quite a few times, even by individuals who are considering becoming franchise partners. I get asked, what do you look for in a franchise partner? And I think a really something else that's really quite important is just being open to learning new things.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. I think that, obviously starting a business, it's a really big learning curve. There's so much to learn, even just the softwares or the operations that you're learning from scratch. But I think being open to learn and knowing that there's so much to learn as well
That's right.
is extremely important.
Yes. You never stop learning. You never stop learning, I think. Yeah, that's fantastic.
And what would you say are some things? So I know that you visit sites quite often.
Yes.
I think the whole team really, we go around and visit the sites to see the franchise partners. What are key things that you look for when you visit these sites?
Okay, so when I walk in the door, I put on a number of different hats. The first hat that I put on is I pretend that I'm a parent. So how would I feel when I walk in a centre? Does it feel like it's a place of learning? Does it feel like there's community here? Does it feel like the tutors would care about my children and, their education? And if I see something that's not quite in place, then I'll have a chat to the franchise partner about that from a parent's perspective. I also put the hat on of a business owner. Is the centre operating efficiently, effectively? Is it safe for a child to come in there? Like there's not puddles of water on the floor or cords hanging where they shouldn't be, etc. So, there's a lot of, I guess, different things that are going through my mind as I walk through a centre. And obviously, you also have to think from a marketing point of view, is the centre presented in the right way? Because even there's a big crossover in my mind between operations and marketing. So if we're doing the operations really, really well, then we're marketing the business really, really well by doing a really good job from an operational point of view.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to think about, I think. And so I'm just really just an extra set of eyes that's not somebody who's in the centre every single day. So perhaps I can see things a little bit differently compared to somebody who, always sees that puddle of water there, and you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess having that set checklist for the team helps
Absolutely.
because when we go into centres, we know exactly what to look for. And it's just so easy to tell whether, a franchise partner is keeping up to those standards, or maybe if there's some things that need to be improved and worked on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the great thing about our checklist is that we improve it and we add to it as required. So if something comes to our attention where we realise that there's something additional that everybody should be paying attention to, we add that to the checklist. So I think that's a fantastic document that's of benefit to all of the franchise partners, as well as HQ, of course, in terms of keeping the brand consistent. But it's helpful to everyone. Yeah.
Definitely. And I think it's also a really good opportunity for us even to come up with new things when we visit sites, because sometimes we might walk into a center and see the way a franchise partner is doing something and think, wow, maybe this is something we should implement across the board. And then we can then have a chat about it and see if it's something
That's
that's worthwhile or something that can benefit everyone.
Yes.
So I think it comes back to, I guess, collaborating with franchise partners, coming up with ideas with them, because they're the ones in the operations every single day.
Absolutely.
So they might find something that could, make the franchise partner's life a bit easier or make the center run a little bit more efficiently, that we can then take and then implement across the board.
And I do a lot of that in my role in terms of, I'll walk into some centers and I'll be really impressed with the way they present themselves. And then I'll go and I'll spend some time with another franchise partner and they'll ask me a question about a challenge they're having. And then I'll remember the previous visit that I had and I'll take something from that and say, what, so-and-so, I won't say who it is, but I'll say another center that I visited have done this. It's a fabulous idea. I think that would work well for you and help solve your problem.
Yeah.
So I think that's the beauty of a franchise model, in that we, everybody's trying to achieve the same goal, and some people are experts at one thing and others are experts at others, and we can all learn off each other, myself included, to make the whole network better, but also to serve our, the children of the world in a stronger way.
Definitely. And I know that Michael always says that some of the best ideas come from franchise partners. And it's so true. And like I said, because they're in the operations, they can really come up with some really good ideas. And of course, you have HQ, we come up with some ideas that we implement. But, 100 minds is better than a few that we have. So it's really important to...
And the franchise partners are in the trenches doing this every day.
Yeah.
We go in there and we do have conversations, etc. But you're right. They come up with the best ideas, and a lot of them I find are very creative.
Yep.
And I love looking at the creativity and the ideas they come up with. Some of them are just total geniuses. And I'll be like, oh, can I take that idea and share it with everyone else? Is that okay? Because that would really help all of you, So, and I've never had anyone say no. So, that's a great thing about being part of a franchise system. Like you say, 100 minds is better than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you have any examples of a time where a franchise partner has experienced quite rapid growth after maybe some coaching or some advice that you've given them?
Yeah. So I've got quite a number of superstars in my under my umbrella. There's one that comes to mind quite strongly, and she was just, her business was in its infancy. So obviously, like all businesses, she's starting from zero and really trying to grow. We had a growth and performance session, and we sat down and spoke about marketing, which is, quite normal when you're trying to grow a business. So I spoke to her about some strategies and tactics around strategic alliances and targeting alliances that had the same target market as us, and just gave some advice around who she could visit and conversations, the types of conversations that she could have. 2 weeks later, I had another session with her, and she had this rapid growth in membership. And I asked her, which I often ask a lot of questions, I quizzed her about where each of those members came from. And a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them had come from strategic alliances. So she had totally taken on board everything that I said, and, massaged it around for her own style, which is great, and just gone out there and, grown her membership. Now, that was only 2 weeks, in the space of 2 weeks. But now, a number of months later, she is continuing to grow and really, listening, not just to my advice, but I think she's listening to a lot of people around her, and just taking all of that information on board and just implementing. So I'm really proud of her, and I'm just so excited to see where she's going to go next year. She set some very aggressive targets for the start of next year. And I'm sitting there questioning the targets, and she's like, that's the target? I'm going for it. And I'm like, all right, I'm here to support you. Whatever I can do to get you there, I will. So it's really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that really also shows the importance of having, a growth and performance team that franchise partners, I guess, can speak with as their first point of contact to really get, bring on some new ideas, or even just that encouragement to set, really, I guess, ambitious goals and to reach those goals as well.
Yeah. Look, I think I learn a lot from her as well.
Yeah.
But also, I love being her cheerleader, and I describe myself as her professional friend. So, we're friendly, obviously, but I'm there in a professional capacity helping her to grow her business. So, yeah, she thought it was funny when I said that. I do think that a lot of what I do falls into that category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very rewarding to see.
Yeah.
I think when you recommend something and a franchise partner goes and they eagerly do it, and I guess they show that motivation and eagerness to apply your feedback or your recommendations, and then they see growth from that, I think it's very rewarding to be able to witness that.
Yes, it is. In terms of the growth and performance department, are there any recent updates that you can share with the listeners about things that might be happening that they could get excited about?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few, I guess, really exciting updates coming up. The first one is that we've actually recently divided or turned the growth and performance department into two. So we now have a separate onboarding department to the growth and performance. So for a while, it's sort of been a combined department. As you would know, we've had our onboarding team and then growth and performance team sort of in the same department. But we found that as we're bringing on more franchise partners and the numbers are growing, of course, splitting them up would allow us to provide more specialized support. And then we can bring people onto the team as well that specialize in certain areas. So that's a very recent update. And we're also actually bringing on someone to the growth and performance team very soon, which is very exciting. He has a lot of experience within franchising in, the growth space, a lot of operational experience as well. He actually led operations for some major franchises before Starbucks being one of them. So I think that's very exciting.
Wow.
To have someone come on the team with that experience and just be so eager to support franchise partners and really help them grow.
That's great.
Yeah. And what would you say to someone who's quite eager to joining Success Tutoring, but they might be a little bit nervous as in joining as a franchise partner, but they might be a bit nervous about the fact that they don't have an educational background or that they're not a teacher?
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I look after 17 franchise partners and only one of those is a teacher. It's definitely not a prerequisite to be a teacher to be successful in business or, in the tutoring space. I think we need to, if you circle back to the reasons or the criteria for being a successful franchise partner at Success Tutoring, being a teacher is not one of them. I mean, it helps, of course, and it adds credibility to your particular campus. However, there are other qualities I think that are, important to being successful. So if you're not a teacher out there, but you're thinking about having a tutoring franchise, I think look into it, because you should not be nervous at all about not having an educational background. I think that it's something that you can pick up along the way, or you can have fantastic tutors out there and you can manage the business if, education isn't something you want to sort of do yourself in terms of, the tutoring aspect of it. But yeah, I would say don't let that hold you back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess even with the tutoring aspect, I mean, when we look for tutors, we're not looking for teachers.
No.
We're actually looking for university students. And I think it shows that the most important thing is I guess, the attitude as well, like the attitude that you have towards learning. I think that we take a bit more of a modern approach as well, and it's just important for everyone within the centre to take that same approach.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we hire people based on, obviously they have to have a strong ATAR, and they need to have an ability to transfer their knowledge, but they also have to uphold the values of, being able to inspire, motivate and uplift. So I think there are so many different attributes to having a really strong team member. And being a teacher isn't 100%, a necessity.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Definitely. And I would even say those specific values of motivating, inspiring and uplifting students, that even comes before the academics.
Yeah.
Because I believe if a student does not love learning, if they're not enjoying it, then the academics don't matter.
That's right.
It's not going to happen. They're not going to learn something if they're not enjoying it. So I believe that before anything, we need to motivate them, and we need to, I guess, create that love for learning and inspire them to achieve more. And then the academics come after that.
Yes, agree. So if somebody out there was considering buying a franchise, can you tell them a bit about the Success Tutoring franchise, what the process would be, what the lifestyle would be, what the income would be?
Yeah, so I guess with the process, I always say starting a business is very hard. It's not easy, but you need to, I guess, be willing to put in the hard work, and you need to be very determined to get the business up and running and to get it started. I guess the benefit with a franchise, the process, I guess, would look a little bit different because you know what direction to take. You also have a team that support you throughout the process. So I guess the process looks a little bit different when you're joining, of course, a franchise network. You also have the support of other franchise partners as well. And as you would know, they're very supportive. They love to help all of the new franchise partners that come on board and give them certain tips and tricks that they can take on board. In terms of the lifestyle, I guess it goes back to depending on whether they choose to run it as an investor or owner-operator. So as an investor, I guess as an owner-operator, first, you're a lot more involved. So you're looking at more the day-to-day operations. So you might be at the centre speaking to parents. You might be taking assessments, speaking to the students, being very active within the centre. As an investor, it's more working on the business. So it would be, working with yourself and thinking of strategies to grow the business, leading the team that you have. You could also be doing, looking at marketing initiatives as well. So I guess the lifestyle, it's different for each franchise partner, depending on the path that they decide to take.
Sure.
And then in terms of the income potential, I think a really important thing to note is the fact that it's membership-based. So parents select a specific membership that's at a set price, and that amount is direct debited from their account each week. And I guess having a model like that, that's a bit similar to a gym rather than traditional tutoring models, I guess you've got that recurring revenue, and it also allows you to forecast a lot better as well, because at least you know what's coming in. I think it's a bit different to traditional models where it's, pay as you go or pay per lesson.
Yeah.
This provides a bit more security than that.
Okay, that's great.
Thanks so much for joining me today, Selina, and sharing your insights.
You're welcome. I enjoyed our chat.